Hello, hello. Welcome to Bree's Best Bottles. We will get started here in about 1 minute while people join and we get ready. In the meantime, if you want to drop in the chat and let me know what you're drinking, I would love that. That is like one of my favorite things to know what people are sipping on. I'm actually sipping on something myself. So we'll get started in about 1 minute here. Oh my God, my glass disappeared. That's so funny. All right, guys, we will get started just in one moment here. Welcome to Bree's Best Bottles. If you're sipping on something, please drop it in the chat and let me know. I'll let you guys know what I'm drinking in a moment here. All right, one more second. We've got a few people joining. There's always that awkward moment at the beginning, right? When you're just getting everything situated. And hello, hello. Hey, Cindy, nice to see ya. All right, I think we're gonna get started here. All right, perfect. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining today to Bree's Best Bottles. Appreciate you being here today. 2021 has come in hot, right? I mean, wow, it sort of feels like an extension of 2020, and I don't know about you, but all I can do is move forward in life as best as I can, no matter how difficult things are around us, because there's just a lot of stuff going on. So personally, what I'm doing is focusing on things that bring me joy. And one of those things is wine. I enjoy and I love just drinking wine and sharing it with people and sharing wine with each other on Zoom these days, since we're not doing it in person. So this evening, I'm hosting this Zoom webinar where I'm going to be sharing with you my 10 best bottles. These are the 10 wines that I'm going to be enjoying in the month of January to usher in a fresh new year that apparently hasn't really started yet. Let's start 2021 like next week, right? Everyone else good with that? Let's see, Ben is drinking the Scattered Peaks Cab. Yes, that is a delicious one. I have had that. I don't know if I've had the 2017. All right, so if you're joining tonight, thank you so much. If you need to hop off or perhaps you registered and forgot to join today, don't worry. We will have this recorded and I will make sure that everyone who registered gets the link to watch at a later date. So my Best Bottles blog post, so all of the wines I'm talking about today, it's already live on my website. So if you go to my website, briannecohen.com, click on blog, you will see the post there with the details on all of the wines, price points, links to the wineries, all that fun stuff. All right. I'll drop that link after because I've got too many bottles in front of me to do that now. So as soon as I'm done with some of these bottles, I'll put that link in the chat so you guys have that to review later. All right. So I know there were actually some unfamiliar faces in the registration and I love when that happens. So I wanted to share with some of y'all who I am and what I do. So Cindy has got a Bordeaux Blanc Sec, yum, yum, Sauv Blanc and Semillon. Refreshing. I love it. So who am I and what do I do? I am based in beautiful Los Angeles. I am not in any kind of a barrel room. This is the magic of virtual green screens and all that fun stuff. And in a normal world, I have my own business and I produce large scale nonprofit events. And then I also, the other side of my business is wine education and writing. And normally I'm doing the wine education in person. I go into people's private homes and do wine classes. I also go into corporate spaces and do wine classes like a team building activity, all right? So I judge in wine competitions. Like I mentioned, I also do some writing. I hold the WSET diploma certificate, which for those who don't know what that is, that just means that I spent an ungodly amount of money and drank an ungodly amount of wine in order to get a pretty little certificate. So that's what that's about. So since COVID hit, I have actually, the event side of my business is in hibernation and I am focusing on delivering virtual wine education, just like we're doing today, except normally it's a meeting format where I get to see people, and we all have the same wines together, but that's not what this is tonight. In 2020, I actually clocked over 2,000 people in my Zoom screen rooms, whatever you want to call it. It was a busy year to say the least. So you can learn more on my website at briannecohen.com. If you wanted, I'll drop the link in the chat a little bit later as well. Sharon is drinking something that I don't know what that is. Sharon, tell us about that. Where is that from? Is it Croatia? There's some kind of Eastern something situation happening there, Eastern Europe situation. Yeah, Croatia, wonderful. I have never had a Croatian wine. I need to change that. So how is this going to work tonight? So I'm going to share with you 10 bottles tonight. These are the 10 bottles that I have enjoyed or plan to enjoy in the month of January. And if you have any questions, whether it's about the wines specifically or just about wine in general, please drop it in the chat. I'd love to try and make this as interactive as possible, even though it's just my face here. And also remember, this is your wine safe space. So there's no questions that are too dumb or not allowed. We can do this. And also you guys are like anonymous, right? You can just sort of ask a question and be like, what's this about? Something you maybe have always wanted to know about wine. We'll be together for no more than 30 minutes, give or take. Also, like I mentioned, this webinar will be available for viewing post-event. So I'll be sure to share that link with everyone who registered, and we'll also get it up on my IGTV channel. Okay, so let's get started. What am I drinking? So I think I showed you guys earlier. It's a rosé. I had to turn my lights off because you won't be able to see the labels if I have my lights on. And this is actually, I'm drinking a canned wine. This is the old Bonnie Doon can. This is a canned rosé. Has anyone had this? They had a canned rosé, canned white, and a canned red. And the rosé and the reds are my favorite. Randall Graham is no longer making these wines, but they're just super fun and easy to enjoy. So cheers everyone as we get started with our 10 best bottles. Let me just have a sip here. You guys get to sip the whole time. I can only have like 2 sips. All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to share with you first 4 white wines that I'm going to highlight. Okay, the first one, show you here, is the Paco and Lola 2012 Albarino. Any Albarino lovers here? And what do you know about aged Albarino? So before this Paco and Lola bottle, which I have already consumed because it was delicious, I knew absolutely nothing about aged Albarino. I'd never heard of it. I'd always enjoyed very youthful Albarino wines, you know, like Rooty Tooty, fresh and fruity Albarino. That's like what I search for in an Albarino. And Albarino, for those who don't know, it hails from the Rías Baixas region in Spain. And I actually recently wrote a blog piece called Goodbye Sauvignon Blanc, Hello Albarino, because I think sometimes people get into a wine rut, right? Sauv Blanc has just had its moment and it's amazing. I love Sauvignon Blanc. That's what Cindy is drinking tonight. But sometimes people are sort of one-track minded and they stick on their plan, right? And they only drink New Zealand Sauv Blanc, let's say. So if you're in a rut, I suggest checking out Albarino if you are a Sauv Blanc lover. This, though, is the serious kid in the Albarino class with the aging. So this wine is aged on the fine lees, L-E-E-S, and that just means the dead yeast cells. Appetizing, right? Dead yeast cells. So when we're fermenting wine and making wine, we actually have to add yeast to the grapes and the grape juice, and that's how fermentation occurs. So the winemaker actually leaves the dead yeast cells in the wine and allows it to sort of give these aromas and flavors to the wine. So holler to the dead yeast cells. They do some amazing things. Oh, Cindy had an aged Albarino about a year ago, but it was from Portugal, I see. All right, so they also did some bâtonnage, which is a French term for stirring. So they stirred those dead yeast cells in there and really got all of the beautiful notes that come from the doughy, yeasty notes that come from those the dead yeast cells there. So this is one of the wines where you open it and you're just like reminded why you're in love with wine. I actually went back to my tasting note when I had originally tasted this wine, and that's exactly what I wrote. This reminds me of why I love wine. You know, it just was just so special and unique and different. I don't think I mentioned this wine is $50 a bottle, so she is spendy. She's a little expensive. That's what happens with aged wines. Really, really delicious though. Tanisha, who I think is here tonight, she mentioned that she is a red wine drinker who is wanting to enjoy and drink more white wines. So I suggest maybe testing out some aged whites. These whites are going to have more secondary and tertiary aromas and flavors. So that really just means the wine's going to be a bit more interesting and complex. So that might be more your speed, Tanisha, versus the really like, you know, simple, super light whites that maybe don't interest you if you're like into big hefty red. So might be something we're trying some of those old vintages. And this is 2012. Gosh, that's already how many years? 9 years? 9 years old. All right. So that is your Paco and Lola Albarino. All right. Our next wine is the Carr 2017 Pinot Gris from Santa Barbara. This wine retails for $24. Ryan and Jessica Carr, they actually started this winery in 1999, and they were college sweethearts. In fact, they met on their first day of college, which I just love that. And funny story, actually, I recently was posting about Carr Winery on social media, And the rabbi who went with my husband and I on our honeymoon Israel trip, she wrote me a note. She said, oh my gosh, I went to college with Ryan and Jessica. They're some of my best friends. I'm so glad you're working with them. So it was just really funny how the world can be so small sometimes, right? So this wine also, you see a trend here, is also aged sur lie. So those dead yeast cells are just in there doing their thing. So you're going to get that yeastiness and that doughiness on the nose and on the palate. It is so good. It's Funktown for sure, and not for everyone. So some people really just want the like rooty tooty, fresh and fruity. Sometimes I want that too, but I really do enjoy a little bit of funk here and there. Is anyone else into the funk? I'm into the funk. All right. It's super vibrant and fun though. So this is just another interesting sort of complex white wine. This is not a vapid sort of, just chug-a-lug white wine. Really full bodied, good acid, savory, and just different. It's just a different, beautiful, lovely wine. And I work with Car Winery regularly, and they actually have set up a discount code. So if anyone is a fan of Car and is like, hey, I needed to pick up some car wines anyway, I'm just typing this in here. Cohen Tasting will get you 10% off on their website. They're a small family-owned winery. It's based in Santa Barbara. Really, really lovely wines, all varietally labeled, so no blends. They do have a brand, I think it's called Crosshatch, where they do their blends. Cohen Tasting will get you 10% off any of their wines, including that Pinot Gris. All right, so moving on to our third white. Here we go, guys. This is the Chalk Hill Estate Bottled Sauvignon Blanc 2019, and this retails for $33 a bottle. This wine is spectacular. Okay, I've had it multiple times. I had it about 2 or 3 times this year, and I fell in love with it every time I try it. On the nose, you get the full spectrum. You're getting everything from citrus, full spectrum of fruit. You're getting everything from citrus all the way over to tropical fruit. And then on the palate, it is tropical fruit galore. It's absolutely stunningly delicious. Melon and ripe pineapple, really, really beautiful and a bit complex for Sauvignon Blanc. You're not going to get those green vegetal notes that you might normally get maybe in like a New Zealand Sauv Blanc, like I mentioned earlier. This is also, if you're in a New Zealand Sauv Blanc rut, all you do is you pick up Kim Crawford Sauv Blanc, which is a great wine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're just like, man, I want something different. This is a really great alternative here. Also, once the world opens up, I highly recommend a visit to Chalk Hill Estate. We're in Sonoma. I didn't mention that. It is a beautiful, 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 sustainable property with huge garden areas, and they do really lovely food and wine experiences featuring the food that is grown on their property. March 10th or so, I was there having one of those experiences. It was the last time on a plane that I had been on since March, last time visiting a winery. We all have those moments now. We can envision early March and the last restaurant we went to, the last person we hugged, it's strange. I know we sit here and talk about wine, but you can't ignore that the world is cray-cray right now. So this is just what we have to do. We have to just enjoy and make the best of each every day, right? Okay. Oh, Cindy had that one too. She's had the Chalk Hill. All right, so let's move on to our last white. I love all these wines, so I'm going to talk like they're my children. Okay, this is the, let's see, let me show you guys. This is it's hard to see. I'm trying to get a good angle. Llamas, L-L-A-M-A-S. My family's from Argentina, so my double L's are pronounced a little differently. Llamas Family Winery in Carneros. This is their Chardonnay 2016, retail price of $39. This was my favorite Chardonnay of 2020. I just recently wrote it up and I absolutely fell in love with it. It was part of a virtual tasting that I enjoyed just for fun. Even though I do this for work, I still for fun buy wine and participate in virtual tastings, which is kind of crazy, but that's okay. So they're actually, Llamas is a Mexican owned winery and they do small production wines focusing on Cab and Chardonnay. And all of the grapes that they purchase and all of the grapes for their wines are farmed by their family. They're originally ranchers from Jalisco, Mexico. And the family migrated north to farm grapes, among other things, orchards and things like that. They worked in all aspects of the wine industry, and 40 years after their family initially arrived into the US is when they started Llamas. They take very great pride in only sourcing grapes from vineyards that their family farms, which I love that. They also have a vineyard management company. I think that goes without saying, but I didn't mention that. So this 2016 Chardonnay is exquisite. I found it to be balanced and precise, which I don't always get with California Chardonnay. It can get a little crazy, a little too much, a little overdone. This one is beautiful. For $39, there's a lot of bang for your buck here for California Chardonnay. The 2018 actually is their current release, same retail price, $39. The 2018 is available on their website. I have access to this one. So if you're interested in this guy, drop me a DM or an email and I can connect you with the Chamas family to get some of the 2016. Really, really beautiful wines. Love that it's family owned, love that it's Mexican owned. It just is like all the things that I'm into. So really, really beautiful. Like I said, complex. It's just elegant and there's lots of beautiful fresh fruit on the nose and on the palate. And it's just it's in very good balance and harmony, which like I said, I don't always get with California Chardonnay. So mil gracias to the Chamas family for making this beautiful wine, okay? And now we're going to move to some reds. So there was Ben and a couple others mentioned here when I asked the question on your registration, they love red blends. So ironically, I don't have any red blends in my lineup tonight, but maybe next month. So everything that I have tonight are varietally labeled wines. So you're gonna see the grape name on the front of the label. So these are all gonna be, they could be 100% or close to 100% of that grape, all right? So my first one here is, it's hard to see, here we go. Marjoram Sinsalt from Santa Barbara. This is a 2019. It retails for $29. So this wine comes from a new category. Maybe not a new category, but just a trending category. These are light, fresh, youthful reds meant to be served chilled, believe it or not. Anyone else into chilled reds? I love chilled reds. Over the summer, I was actually able to take a day trip, a drive up to Santa Barbara, and I met with Doug Marjoram of Marjoram Wines, and I believe he's here today. So if you are, hey, Doug. And I met in their downtown Santa Barbara tasting room. I was with a group of LA wine writers, so we had a lovely socially distanced tasting together with him. Doug has been making wine since the 80s in Santa Barbara. And and he started Marjoram in 2001. As I understand, Doug's forte is, there's Doug, hey there. Doug's forte is blending, but this Sinsalt is killer. If you haven't had Sinsalt, like I said, I'll try one more time. There you go, Sinsalt. I love when it comes into focus like that. Is killer. The wine features all estate fruit from their Los Olivos district vineyard. And it's just like bright ass juicy red fruit. It is so delicious and lots of pepper. It's just like peppery, but it's not like that big heavy pepper. It's jumpy. It's like on a trampoline. That's kind of how I would describe this wine. The Sinsalt is just like on a trampoline. You chill it down a bit and it just like, boo, does the job. Really, really lovely. And like I said, you really want to drink this slightly chilled and it really increases its crushable factor, as the kids say. Oh, Cindy did a Facebook Live today about chilled reds. I love that. All right, so that is your Marjoram Sinsalt. Mary Grace, this next wine is for you. I know you're a Pinot Noir lover, and I've got a winner here. Okay, so we have here we go, Mary Edwards, 2017, Russian River Valley Pinot. Okay, this wine retails for $68, okay? The grapes for this wine were planted in 1998. We're in the Russian River Valley up in Northern California. Mary Edwards actually purchased a property there, a 24-acre property, and it was abandoned apple orchards. And they had to transform the whole area, grow grapes, and converted it to Pinot Noir. And this exact vineyard that the grapes come from, the Meredith Estate, this is their flagship wine, okay? And this is a true California Pinot, okay? Don't come here looking for Burgundy. Don't come here looking for Willamette. This is like, boom, in your face. And it's delicious. It is so big and juicy. And I find it really fun. Like my note here says is you need to wear a seatbelt for this ride. And sometimes it's just fun to enjoy something that is totally outside of the box of what you expect it to be, what you think it's going to be. Here in the wine world, you know, we all know so much about wine. So we're like, okay, we want all the classic things. We want all the markers. We want all the benchmark wines. And it's just like, no, sometimes I want someone doing something a little cray and I want to see what it's about. So this wine is bodacious. It's big. It's really, really dark fruit. You're going to get some of those signature cola notes that you get in a California Pinot. So if you're wanting to maybe, I don't know, surprise a Pinot drinker, or just, you know, sort of people might think that you have something totally different in your glass if you bring this Mary Edwards Pinot to the table. So cheers, and hope you enjoy that one. Okay, moving on to our next wine. All right, so, oh, I love this wine. Okay, let me just move a couple bottles here. I don't want to do it while I'm talking later, and then I'll knock things down, and that'll be bad. Okay, here we go. So my next wine is Theopolis Vineyards 2017 Petite Syrah. Okay, this is from the Petite Syrah 2017, $39 a bottle. So the Theopolis estate, they grow Petite Syrah. It's very full-bodied, fruit-forward, lots of tannins. I was recently tasting this with a few friends on a virtual tasting, and we found that it shone with food. It was really, the tannins were so prevalent that you almost needed food. That was our impression. So really, really beautiful wine though. And it has the full spectrum here. This is also another big wine, this Petite Syrah. Red fruit, black fruit, pepper, lots of toasty notes from the oak, chocolate, cocoa, something for everyone here. What I love about this wine is actually the story behind the wine. So Theodora Lee, the owner and proprietor here, she is a Bay Area lawyer. She's a trial lawyer and partner in her firm. And she bought this land, I'm totally hallucinating where it is. Oh, in Mendocino. Yeah, Yorkville Highlands of Mendocino. She bought the land and planted Petite Syrah because she was told, I think she hired someone to tell her what to grow. She had never had a Petite Syrah. She'd never tried wine that was Petite Syrah. She planted her vineyards to Petite Syrah at that point, and she was just farming. She's actually from Texas originally, has sort of an agricultural background and sort of a green thumb like that. And so she was growing grapes and selling the grapes every year to other wineries. One year she lost a big contract for a couple different reasons. And so she had a lot of Petite Syrah in her hands and she needed to do something with it. So she made some wine. And then the rest, as they say, is history. So now Theodora is making beautiful, beautiful wines up in Mendocino here. This Petite Syrah is actually her signature wine. And another note about this winery, this is a Black-owned winery, so I'm very happy to support that because that's an important, it's an important conversation in our industry, the idea of having more diversity and inclusion and equity in everything that we do and in the wine that we drink. And so I think it's important to showcase fantastic wines that also happen to be Black-owned. And that's what I'm happy to show Theopolis for. All right, moving on. We're almost done, guys. Thanks for hanging in here. So now we have this little guy. Okay, this is, let's see if I can get this. This is a little hard to see. You might not be able to. Kenwood. Okay, it's a little hard to see, so I'll just give you the details here. This is the Kenwood Vineyards Jack London Dry Farmed Cabernet Sauvignon 2018, and it retails for $55 a bottle. So one thing I want to talk about, probably a lot of you on here have heard of Kenwood. Kenwood does have wines in a lot of different locations. You can find them. I want to say one thing, not all big brands are bad. Okay, I know it's kind of trendy to say that big is bad and only shop the small producers, which I agree with, but I don't think it has to be exclusive. Sometimes you're just at the grocery store and you need some wine, or just life is, life changes and you're not always able to source the, specific regional wine that you're trying to get, okay? So I want to just showcase them because I think they're a large winery. I think they make 300,000 cases a year. But they do a lot. There's a lot of innovation that they're responsible for in our industry, sustainability, and you need the big guys doing that in order to make meaningful change so that it can trickle down. So I think that's important. I wanted to make sure I said that. Not this wine, but Kenwood is in distribution. So like I mentioned, you will see them at grocery stores. You will see them at big box wine retailers, things like that. This is a higher end label of theirs. Like I mentioned, it's $55. So you're not going to find this one in a grocery store. They're a big winery, but they do make what I call honest regional wine. And that's important. And we're in Sonoma, if I didn't mention that. So hold on, wait. Yeah. Kenwood has the unique, what's the word I want? I can't get the word is like gone. They actually own a property that used to be owned by the American author Jack London. So it's a Jack London estate, the Jack London Vineyard. That's what we're talking about here. And this is one of their small production wines. And I said it's the Jack London Dry Farmed Cabernet Sauvignon. So you might be wondering, what is dry farming? And why would anyone dry farm? So dry farming is essentially just growing grapes without utilizing irrigation, okay? You're just relying on the natural precipitation, the natural rainfall for your water. And I recently was on a virtual tasting with the winemaker what what does that bring to a wine? And they said that you're going to see more vintage variation with dry farming. So it allows the grapes and the terroir to shine, which I thought was interesting. So it's not creating a style year after year. You know, it would be interesting to see a vertical of this, you know, to have a few years in a row and just see how they're showcasing differently because of the lack of irrigation. So you're not going to have as much consistency. You're going to have dry years, wet years, droughts, all the things, right? So this is just a really, I mean, we're in cab land here. So this is a beautiful big cab. So we get really, really big black fruit notes here. So black currant, cassis, things like that. Lots of black pepper. I have a note here too. Major pyrazines, which some people are just not into, and I personally don't think that that's always a bad thing. Pyrazines it's the chemical compound that gives you aromas and flavors of like green jalapeno, or I'm sorry, green bell pepper, fresh jalapeno. So it's a green note. It's, you know, some people say it's bad, some people say it's good, and some people are in the middle. I'm okay with pyrazines. I'm like, yeah, I got a cab. I'm happy. I want a little bit of that. So really also really grippy tannins as well. So sort of with the Theophilus Petite Syrah, I would probably enjoy something to eat with this, unless this is just a meal in and of itself for you, which is fine. Also, I think that this is a very age-worthy wine at $55, 2018. This is a big wine, and I think this will last a very good amount of time. I don't think it's going to last for me. I've already corvined it, so I do want to get going and drinking it. But really, really beautiful Kenwood cab. All right, perfect. Moving on, guys. Okay, actually, let's put this here. Okay, two more. So I have got this guy, Teachworth, if you can see it. Next month, I have a solution. We're going to do a split screen. It's going to be me and the bottle. So we're working on that. I have a call with my tech guy next week to deal with that. Okay, Teachworth Estate Cabernet Sauvignon 2016. This wine retails for $125. He is not cheap, but sometimes it's worth a splurge, right? Isn't that what people have been doing this year, drinking their cellars? Like no time but the present. Okay, I personally would consider this a benchmark cab. I've tapped into this a few times here. I've corvined it maybe in the last 2 weeks or so. And I would say benchmark because it's showcasing everything that you'd expect to find in a Napa cab, but in a very balanced and elegant way. Also, sometimes words that are not always described for Napa cab, for example, in my opinion. It's not my favorite category. So I found this wine to be very balanced, very elegant, that I think can be an example to other producers. You know, I think we've retracted a bit from sort of the 80s, 90s, and 2000 version of what people were doing up in Napa with cab. Okay, the Teachworths, which is a family, and they're the owners here. They actually really suffered in the glass fire. They lost their home, their personal family home, and they also lost their entire library of wine. So that's one of the reasons, not one of the reasons their wine is spectacular and stands out on its own, but I think just showing humanity in wine is important. And that's one thing that it's just like, yeah, that happened and that's terrible. I just hate hearing that, but here we are and we're persisting and they're persisting. So this wine is aged 24 months, so 2 years in new French oak. It's a very deep, inky cab, you know. You're gonna get all the black fruit and all the things you would normally expect in your Napa cab, berries, and just really persistent and a really long finish. So that $125, it just keeps going. So this is definitely worth every penny. Only 200 cases produced. Really, really beautiful, really, really special wine. So this is the Teachworth cab. Okay, my last wine, guys. All right, last wine, a fortified. So Sue, who's hopefully here, she is a port lover, and this one's for you, Sue. So I have got Daios 10-year-old. Can't see it. Sometimes there's like one little moment you can see it. Nope, not today. Daios 10-year-old Tawny port, okay, $39 retail. So not all port is sweet red wine. Repeat after me. Not all port is sweet red wine. Okay, that's usually what people think. They're thinking of ruby port. Excuse the helicopter. Tawny port can be a lighter style actually than ruby port. It's generally lighter in color. It tends to have maybe a pink or brown hue instead of just red. And what I love about Tawny port is that it has all of these beautiful like tertiary notes instead of just the straight sweet red fruit. Okay, so it's a beautiful, I should have poured it really for you guys. It's a beautiful, deep, beautiful brown color. And it has, you definitely get all the red fruit, so that there's cherries still there. There's all this really lovely red fruit still prevalent. But the main event here is the nuttiness. I just love nuttiness in a fortified wine. Almonds and toffee and just lots of beautiful stuff here, and some vanilla notes from the oak aging. And I would pair this with like a cinnamon-based dessert. I've done that before with a Tawny port, sort of like an apple crumble cinnamony situation. Delicious. So, okay, I want to drop a couple things in the chat here, and then I'm just gonna do a little send off and we'll be gone. If you have any questions, let me know. Actually, hold on, this just went to panelists. That's not gonna work. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, there we go. So I just dropped the blog post that's gonna cover all the wines we just talked about. Everything, I just mentioned, the prices, links to the wineries' websites, okay? So that's there for you in case you jumped in late or missed something. Also, yeah, if you guys have any requests for February for my next webinar, let me know, whether it's like a particular wine you had that you're like, oh my God, this wine is kick-ass, you should cover it. Or maybe there's like a theme you want me to cover, something like that. You can drop it in the chat here, send me a DM or anything like that. You can also find me at Somspirations, which I'll type in the chat in a moment, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I wanted to let you know about my next event. My next event is actually going to be our monthly virtual vino tasting. This is what I've been doing since March of last year. We're going to be doing this on January 28th. It's a Thursday evening, and I'm going to be featuring the wines of Lola Estate in the Willamette Valley. And I will have Steve Lutz, who is the winemaker and proprietor, there with us. So he'll be on the Zoom call. We'll be tasting his wines, hearing his stories, which is fantastic. This event is going to feature a small format tasting set. I should have brought one here. It's going to be a small format tasting set sent to you. So the ticket price is $60, and that includes that tasting set sent to your home. And you get 4 wines, 4 ounces each. So you're going to get about 16 ounces of wine, which is enough for 2 people. If 2 of y'all are there at the house, that works just fine. So the ticket price is $60. It includes that tasting set, shipping, tax, my class and services and tasting sheet, and we track all the packages for you and all that good time. So 4 wines from Lola Estate, beautiful, beautiful, very minimalist, lovely Burgundian style Chardonnay and Pinot from Lola Estate in the Willamette Valley. January 28th. I've just dropped the Eventbrite link in the chat there if you're interested in attending. I don't have a cutoff date for that yet. I'm waiting to hear from Steve. January 28th though, Lola Estate, $60 and gets you the tasting set plus the class, and you'll get to meet the winemaker and all the good stuff as well. So take a look. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and everyone stay healthy, stay grateful, stay in gratitude, and thank you for tuning in. And here we go. Cheers. See y'all next month.